Hi everybody. So it's been a while. I know I've been having some issues with energy and finding time to fit everything in. But I definitely wanted to update you guys on the fields. So here today, right now I'm standing in the cornfield, and today is August 10th. So for relation, August 10th. Okay, up there at the top, you can see that's called the tassel. If that means that this corn is getting ready to pollinate. So this corn is behind our other fields. Our other fields already have big old ears out. You know, they've been tasseled for a while. They've already pollinated. So this one's behind the other ones, and this is the only one. It's all because we just planted it a little bit later. Because we took some rye off from this field before we planted corn. So you can see down here, one of the different things about this year is that the roots seem to be higher out of the ground. And that was because when we planted, everything was so wet. We had so much rain this spring and earlier this summer that the roots didn't have to go down as deep as what they normally would. If it was a drier year, they would have put the roots down deeper. Not an expert, I'm gonna put that out there, but I'm learning. And so that's one of the things that I do know, that they kind of adapt to whatever the year is like. So here's the cornfield. And I'm gonna head over to the bean field here. So, there he is. He was right with me. All right, so I'm out here in the black bean field, and I'm actually not in very far because beans get tough to walk through at this time. So, beans grow in more of a bush. I remember, I don't know if I said it, these are black beans. They grow in more of a bush, whereas, corn goes straight up. Beans grow in a bush. Some of them are vining types. Some of them, can't remember what the other type's called. My brother knows a lot better than me. But you see the flowers? The flowers will become the pods of beans. And you can see they're all kind of spreading out, all these other, nodes or something. I don't know if that's what they're called. And when we first started, you could actually see a bee was flying around. So we, the bees are really important pollinators for all the crops out here. We love our honeybees. But, so the ones right here are, like to my pocket on my pants. Good morning, everybody. My sweatshirt kind of has a Sith Lord look to it. So today is September 13th, and I know that I'm long overdue for another crop update. So I'm doing it. Even though it's raining out and everything's wet, just know my love for you guys. Actually, I procrastinated on the nice day, and I should have done it earlier this week before it started raining. So it's just as much my fault as it is anybody else's fault. So just as a reminder so you guys can see how tall the corn is, I'm actually not in real far. It's actually taller a little bit further we go in, but I'm 5'8", and it's definitely taller than my fingertips. So here I am. You've got all these rows of corn. I'm actually, you can still see the barn. So I'm actually, for the record, not very far in. For those of you that, are crop people, you might see some disease pressure, but we know that it's always closer to the edge of the field, so I'm not super far in because I'm honestly, my mom all these years ago scared me to like walk in a cornfield still, so, and get lost in it, even though I'm a grown-ass woman and I'm pretty sure I could probably find my way out. So this is what the cobs look like in this field. They're still filling. This is still at the milky phase, meaning that it's not, the corn kernels aren't starting to harden up yet. We might find some that are starting to dent here, and maybe I can show you. No, they're all still pretty silky. We have some other fields that maybe I'll go into and I'll show you what a dent cob looks like, because I'm afraid if I don't go find one, this field is not going to get there. It's going to get harvested before that. So yeah, they're big. We're within, for most of the fields, we're like 2 weeks away from harvesting. And so what we want, this cob's pretty little, but it's pretty long and it's full. So you can see, this is where the starch content for the cow's feed comes in. You know, the plant is like a salad, and then this is like your starch. So maybe like croutons or something. And we can talk about all the diets we want, but the reality is that our bodies do require carbohydrates to function. The brain requires, my registered dietitian just told me this the other day. She said that every day it takes the carbohydrates from 8 slices of bread just to power your brain alone. So our bodies need carbohydrates no matter what you think. So the size of the ear is really important, how many kernels it has on, whether it filled all the way to the top or not. So I believe I have in my August, I talked about how when the corn has sex, aka we call it pollination, you can tell when you had a good pollination because there will be kernels all the way to the top of the cob. If you get those weird empty dead ones, that means that the pollination wasn't as good and it didn't make it all the way. So this one has lots of big cobs or lots of big kernels. Derp. Sorry, I'm not an agronomist. I didn't take any agronomy classes in college. I'm literally just learning as I go here. So this is a learning experience for all of us. So the more kernels, the better the balance of salad to carbohydrates and starch there is. So then it's more balanced for the cows. So yeah, we test it every year, and I'll show you all of this stuff because I'm going to show you the harvesting, how we harvest it. And then we balance it with all the other feedstuffs available to us. So, 1 year it might be higher in carbohydrates or in starch, but, in other years it might be higher in lignin, which means fiber. And so then we have to balance it a little bit differently. But that's the neat thing about it, is that it's always kind of changing. We're always kind of learning and growing. So there we go. There's the cornfield on September 13th. So I finally have a beautiful sunny day where it's not raining and I'm not busy, where I can come to you guys and talk about an update about the beans. So today is 9/17 when I'm finally getting to come see beans. So that just goes to show how oddly rainy it has been the last few days. So I am actually here. I'm here at my brother's. This field is my brother's beans, but it's on my great aunt and uncle's field. So this field is the farm that my grandpa Messing grew up on, and he bought the neighbor's field. So literally I can turn it around and you can actually see the back of our farm from here. So we're neighbors, everybody stayed close, and now for the last while, we've rented the land from my great aunt and uncle. So it's really neat to still get to, farm the ground that my great grandparents, that our family's been on. So there's my family background. So this is another field of black beans, just like the field is by my parents' house, but we're over here just at my aunt and uncle's house, because this field is actually a little easier to get into, and it's a little cleaner as far as weeds go. So I decided to come over here. So we're out here in the field, and some of the first things that you'll see is you'll start to see yellow, which is actually a good thing this time of the year. So what happens, beans are not harvested green like some of the other plants. They're actually harvested after the plant itself dies, because they're called dry beans. So we need them dry. We don't want a lot of moisture in them. We want hardly any moisture in them, because like if you cook dry beans fresh, from a bag or, something like that, you actually have to rehydrate them. So that's a fact. You should definitely soak beans before you cook them. So the last time we were here, we saw that there were flowers. And so now the flowers have turned into pods. So here's a pod. It's, right now I would maybe say it looks a little bit like a green bean, like to the untrained eye. So you can see all these bumps in here. It kind of has bumps. Those are seeds in there, and that's what will turn into the bean. There they are, little baby black beans. So they're literally black. They almost have to me, I always thought that they had like a purpley hue to them. They're like blackish purple. And so what the pod is doing now is it's basically the seeds are mostly formed. They just might be adding it, if it gets rain and it gets sun and all the things that it needs, it might, I don't know, maybe add a little bit more starch, but not much. Mind you, I really don't know that much about growing beans. My brother's the agronomist. I actually should have brought him out here with me. But mostly the plant is now in its final stages. So it's going to be drying down so that it's ready for harvest. So you can see over here, like right now, this field is just starting to, so some sections are definitely more yellow than others. So if you look out over the field, so way up there, kind of in the center on the top of the screen, that's the back of our farm.